Alright, so let's begin. Announcement. I sent an email to the person who's responsible for my teaching award and the money. I haven't got any responses yet, but if I do get a response from them, I'll let you guys know. I just think that they might not have the money for me, but we'll see. We'll see. Honestly, I think EN has the money. They just don't want to spend it on students. Sorry, I forgot to clap. But anyway, I'll let you guys know. And even if I can't pay for it, it's about $40. If you want to get it cheaper, you can. I don't think it's too much for each person, for each group. If you do have a problem, let me know. We'll think of something else. All right. So today we're going to talk about family love, which is chapter 7. It's not in your textbook, so pay attention in class, make notes, and ask questions. And then we're going to go into chapter 8, which is helping and altruism. And we're going to talk about why do we help other people. So family love, this is the positive relationship, emotions, or social support from your family. And that's what we call family love. So what is a family? What do you guys think? What's a family in your opinion? Yeah.
I would say a group of people dedicated to looking out for each other.
Okay. So a group of people who dedicated looking out for each other. Okay. Any other thoughts? Yeah.
People you're connected to your whole life.
Okay. Until they die. Uh-huh. All right. Yeah.
Either like live together currently or have before.
Okay. They probably have lived together. Very good. Think of any traits that's only for family. Like sometimes like friends can last a long time. You can get social support from people that's not necessarily family. Any other traits that only happens with family? Can you think of any?
Yeah. You have like more obligation to them.
Obligations, yeah, responsibilities. Very good. All right, so the term family is kind of loosely defined. Sometimes it can be just a couple. Sometimes it can be a single person and their pet. Like either they never find a human partner, or their partner is deceased, or they got separated. It can be your roommate. Whoa, that's a different picture. Sorry, that's not roommates. That's roommates. It can be grandparents too. Family can consist of different components, different people, or even different animals. And for today's class, we're going to focus on the term nuclear family and single parent family. So the nuclear family is a family group consisting of two parents, a man and a woman, and their children, one or more. While single parent family is a family group consisting of children, can be one or more, and one parent. The parent can be never married, or they might be widowed, they might be divorced, or they were not remarried. Okay. Any questions so far on nuclear family and single parent family? Good. Okay. So here's the stats. The U.S. has the world's highest rate of children living in single-parent household. It's about 1 in 5, and this numbers increased, like almost doubled from 1970 to 2090. Oh no, 2019. This data is from this website. If you're interested, you can go into that website. It has a lot of stats about family. It's pretty interesting. So why is the U.S. having the highest rates of single parenthood in the world? Yeah.
Well, divorce is like accepted here socially, and I know like in other countries it might not be.
Mm-hmm. When you say accepted,
Like socially acceptable.
yeah. So do you mean that people are less likely to associate divorce and negative image? Or when you say accepted, do you mean that people just feel more comfortable when they get a divorce, or what do you mean by
Like,
socially accepted?
like society.
I think she sort of means like just like socially, compared to other countries that have like more religious bases. Divorce isn't necessarily accepted in those standards where those particular religious values are the social norms.
Yeah, so I guess my question would be for those countries that are not as accepted, what would be the consequences for getting a divorce? Like, what's the difference between the U.S. and other countries?
I think, I'm not certain of this, but I think there's certain religions where if you get a divorce, you can't get remarried, period. It's like
Okay.
considered very bad in the religions, like it just doesn't happen.
Uh-huh.
And then, yeah, it's just like really looked down upon, like
Okay.
religiously.
Yeah, so it's like kind
Yeah,
of
if you get a
stigmatized.
divorce, not necessarily for every particular denomination, but if you get a divorce, you'll go to hell or some
Okay. So
sort of association with divorce.
so religions can play a role. The people who are getting the divorce, they might feel
Pressure to
yeah.
stay because of religion.
And sometimes some cultures will have this stigmatization for a divorce. People who got a divorce, other people will think less of them, I guess. They might think, oh, you must have some kind of problem, or yeah. So the U.S. is more accepted, and there's less stigmatization between divorce and the negative image. So yeah, that could be a reason why the U.S. has more single parenthood. Any other reason? Yeah.
I think because we live in such an individualistic culture, you have less people, say, staying together for the sake of the kids. I think in a more collectivist culture, you're going to have people staying together for the sake of the kids, for the sake of the family, looking out for everybody in their unit, in a sense. Whereas in America, since we're so individualistic, it's more like, oh, you don't want to be in this relationship or this marriage anymore, and you can just leave, and there's less focus on what's going to happen to the kids.
So culture, yeah, it's not good or bad, but yeah, individualistic culture, people tend to focus on their own benefits or their well-being. If they are not happy in a marriage or in a relationship, they're more likely to separate for the sake of their own well-being, and maybe less considering other family members. This also happens, like you can see sort of phenomenon is that whether people live with their parents when they get older. Here, comparatively, it's less than some collective culture. Yeah, culture can play an important role as well. What else? There's also a big factor. It's economics. So here, people are wealthier, they have the resources, they have the money to maybe support their children as a single parent compared to other countries. If they get a divorce, they might not be able to have a normal life. They might not be able to support the family and the children. Does that make sense? Okay, so there are a lot of reasons why the U.S. has the world's highest rate of single parenthood. And there are more. We were just like talking about some examples. And we also see a race or culture difference within the U.S. So for Asian, they're about, this is from 2014 to 2018. On average, Asian, there are like that's 1 in 5, right? No. Yeah. So 1 in 5. So I was wrong. That was 1 in 4. My math is bad. Sorry about that. So in the US, it's about 1 in 4 the children grow up in single parenthood on average across all race. So right now we're looking at different ethnicity. For Asian, it's about 1 in 5, and then for Black or some people call it African American, it's about 66%. I think it's getting higher this 2 years. Latino or Hispanic, it's about 41%. And then white people, it's about 33%. Why is that? Any idea? Did you guys know about this or no? Okay. I'll give you a couple minutes to maybe think about it since it's not in the textbook either. It's interesting that you see such a big difference. So sometimes we know the differences might not be significant. If you know something about stats, and we need to do t-test or ANOVA to make sure. However, if it's from 0 to 100%, one is 20, one is 66, I would say 98% of the chances they are significant. Why is that?
I don't know if this is it. I've heard of things like the incarceration rates for Black and African American is just way, way higher.
Yep. So incarceration rate, also death rate. People of color, especially Black people, are more likely going to jail or dying early age. That could be a reason. Very good. What else?
I think the same reasons could kind of go into the Latino and Hispanic column, but not as much. But still factors.
Yep. Yeah, that's incarceration rates. People of color in general, they have a higher incarceration rate. Yep. And any other idea? Yeah.
It could also be like families that immigrate to the United States, they can't bring everyone.
They can't bring everyone. Oh, like
when one parent comes first and the rest of the family comes after the first parent is established.
Okay, so do you mean that for Black and Latino populations, they might have like one person come here first and then...
Or Asian too.
Or Asian too?
Yeah.
But why is Asian such lower, has such a lower rates compared to Black and Latino? Isn't Asia further than Africa or Latin America or Europe?
Yeah, I don't know that it would be like a big factor.
It might be?
Yeah.
Okay.
This is how my family came to the United States.
Okay. So, wait, so if the children's not here, just the man, they probably won't
like
count.
One parent and one child, or
Yeah.
something like that, and then maybe the other parent can come along.
Okay.
That kind of thing.
Okay. So one parent, one child or children in the United States, and then the other come.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, that could be why. Very good. What else? What else? There are a lot of reasons. What about culture? Do you think culture can make a difference here? Any idea how or why? Hold on, let's count. Do we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 15? All right. So if no one shows up, I'll give you extra credit. Oh, I didn't give you extra credit last time, right? I forgot.
There's a couple chats.
Okay. All right, remind me, and then people who show up get extra points. In sociology, we learned that African Americans have a higher rate because men tend to be incarcerated more, which in turn separates the family. Very good. Asian might be lower because they have a less individualistic culture and are more accustomed to the traditional family style. Can I unmute? Yeah, you can unmute yourself.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, so I learned in one of my psych classes, I forget which one, but I heard that in the US and like individualistic cultures, people are more likely to get divorced or like separate because of the different styles of love that are common. Like in individualistic cultures, people are like more passionate and have more short-lived love, and then collectivistic cultures have more what's it called? Companionate love, and that tends to be longer lasting, and that's why I think.
I would wonder where did you get that information from? So
I think I got it from I think it was Psych of Women, I'm not totally sure.
Psych of Women? I'm going to challenge that. So I study emotion, and we know there's a stereotype is that in Western society, people have like stronger emotions, I guess, than people who are collectivist. Like they show happy or angry more obviously or more often than let's say Asian people, and that's actually a stereotype. What we learned is that it just here people are more likely to express them, but the intensity and the frequency of experience those emotions, they're pretty similar here and other culture. It just depends on whether they express it or not. Does that make sense? So I don't think, unless I have seen how they conducted the research, otherwise I wouldn't think that for Asian people they're less likely to experience passionate love compared to Western society, and I don't think that in Western society people are less likely to experience companion love. Does that make sense? Okay, cool. Yeah, I mean, it could be the case, but just based on what I have read and what I've learned, emotion perspective, that wouldn't be the case. All right. Good thoughts, though. Good thoughts. Yeah, so here is something that we haven't mentioned. Yeah, culture can make a difference. Let's say if a culture that values family more, their culture might stigmatize divorce. They think that's I don't know if I should say they think it's a disgrace, but they might think they will kind of lose face if they get in a divorce. They're less likely to get a divorce. Again, we're not talking about whether this is good or bad. We're just talking about the reasons why this is happening. Also, for Black people especially, for economics and historian perspective is that they're more relied on extended kin families as a influence from slavery. I don't know if it makes sense to you guys. This back then, people are more likely to rely on each other even though they're not close families because of slavery. Sometimes their close families might not be in the same place. Does that make sense? Okay, so that could be a reason. And also political policy. A lot of economists, they think that the significant expansion of federal welfare under the Great Society programs, I don't know if you guys are familiar with that, that was in the 1960s. that could contribute to the destruction of African American family. That's according to the economists, which is kind of correlated. The welfare policy started 1960s, and we see that there's a big jump from 1970, which is like you need kind of a couple years to let the policy take effect, and then you see the results on the population. So those could be the reasons. Again, if you're interested, let me know and we can talk about this more. Or if you have any thoughts, go ahead and speak up. We good? Okay. So now I'm going to show you a video on how single parenthood might affect children or the family, and we're going to talk about it. Again, this is from Ch8 It's a pretty cool YouTube channel that talks about family, not just single parenthood, but also like communication within the family. It's pretty useful. Oh, sorry. Hold on. I love Ch8. Alright, so yeah, it's a good channel. If you are interested, check it out. Wait.
7 effects of growing up with a single parent. Boys tend to be more idle in young adulthood. Sometimes, specific genders seem to react in different ways to growing up with a single parent. In terms of boys, some studies have suggested that they're more likely to be idle in young adulthood. This includes things like being unproductive and even dropping out of school. While boys are more likely to experience this, it can definitely happen with girls as well. Girls are at a higher risk for teen pregnancy. Multiple surveys and studies have shown a link between single-parent homes and teen pregnancy. While unplanned pregnancies aren't always a bad thing, teen pregnancies in particular can involve certain issues and complications, such as the lack of financial opportunities and access to higher education. Some have theorized that this correlation is due to the lack of a male figure in the household, which can have negative psychological effects on a young girl. Single-parent families can actually be more beneficial in some cases. With more and more children growing up in single-parent households, more research is being done on not only the negative effects, but also the positive ones. Some studies have pointed out that in some cases, a single-family household can actually be more beneficial. The main example would be an extremely stressful two-parent home versus a peaceful, relaxed single-parent home. When there is extreme conflict, violence, or stress in a two-parent home, a single-parent home is actually a much more beneficial environment for the child. That's definitely something worth keeping in mind as we list some of the negative effects here. Kids with a single parent might end up having a stronger relationship with that parent. There's always a very special bond that forms between children and their parents. But one study suggests that in a single-parent home, that relationship could potentially be even stronger and unique in a way that is unseen in two-parent homes. Not only is the relationship often stronger in this situation, but the children and parents are more dependent on each other, more affectionate, and more likely to work together towards a common goal. Before we continue to the next point, we want to share with you a recommended video from BetterHelp. Jesus talks about 7 ways to overcome emotional neglect. If you find yourself to be somebody who suffered from emotional neglect, you may want to check it out after this video. Kids with single parents might end up being less satisfied in life. In a slightly alarming study, research was done on tens of thousands of individuals to test their overall feeling of satisfaction in life. The study found a small but persistent decrease in life satisfaction among those who had grown up with a single mother throughout childhood. They found that these individuals were less likely to experience educational and economic success and good physical health. Additionally, they found a connection between single mother childhoods and unmet relationship goals. But remember, there was only a small decrease in life satisfaction when compared to those with 2 parents. There could be an increased risk of psychiatric issues. There's a huge wealth of scientific literature which states that single-parent homes are a risk factor for a number of mental health issues in children, including depression and psychological distress. Once again, we're not saying this happens to all children in these situations, but there's definitely a link. Also, we have to mention that the trauma of potentially negative memories might be the root cause, not necessarily single-parent homes specifically. Children with single parents benefit immensely from a strong relationship with their grandparents. Let's end things with something positive. What can be done to avoid some of these negative effects and help children in these situations? One study suggested a perfect solution. Encourage a strong relationship with the child's grandparents. The recent study discovered that this simple act can considerably boost social skills and help reduce behavioral problems in adolescence.
All right. Any thoughts before we go to the next slide? We good? Or do you need a minute to think about this? All right, we'll go ahead. So we know that single parenthood is associated with lower education, lower income in average. We're not talking about specific cases, just like overall, we see this trend. It's also associated with higher risky behavior, such as increase in juvenile crime, increase in unprotected sex, teen pregnancy, etc. It's also associated with higher risk for psychopathology, including anxiety, depression, bipolar, etc., etc. So, this is the association. We can also call it the correlation. And we know that there's a correlation here. But we also know that correlation is not causation. So what might be the underlying causes here? What might be the actual cause between those? Wealth? Oh, I'll just give you a quick example, real quick. So for example, what causes children in single-parent family more likely to engage in higher risk? I just want to make sure you understand the question correctly. Yeah, so wealth, financial situation. Do you mean that single parenthood, in general, they just have lower financial support?
Yeah, I mean, and a lot of single parents too, when they happen to split from that second parent, they lose that second income. So that just in general, living on a one-income homes may have lots of factors like educational opportunities. And, if you have a wealthy single parent, those things may be different.
So financial-wise, do you mean that when the family, I know it's kind of obvious, but I just want to make sure everyone are on the same page. So when they have less money, less financial support, people have less opportunities.
Yeah, they don't have, they may not necessarily have the money for extracurriculars, which means where do the children go after school? They don't want to sit at home all day.
Yep.
They may not have money for tutors. They may not have money for ACT and SAT scores.
Yep.
Those cost money. So.
Yeah. So that's like well-being physically or in life. What about psychological well-being? Would that be a reason that affecting the psychological well-being as well?
Yeah, so in sociology we learned that whether it be a single or a double parent home or wealth in general, when there's more money in the family, the less psychological problems there were.
Can you think of why? So if people have less financial support, they're more likely to go to work, right? They have less time to spend with children. Children are more likely to be neglected when they are in need. So when they are lack of social support, they're more likely to develop psychological disorders or symptoms. Yeah, very good. What else? Financial reasons. What else? Yeah.
Like the stress involved, so if your family is pretty like stable and that's not something to worry about, then that's not a constant stress around you.
Yep.
But if it is a problem, then that could be stressed on you as a child, or it could just be that your home is stressful because your parents are stressed about it.
Very good. So we know that being stressed can negatively affect our academic performance, our work, and our psychological health, apparently. Very good. Stress. Any other ideas? Yeah.
It might be like the reason why it's a single parent household, like the trauma behind it might be a reason why like it's high risk behavior.
The trauma, do you mean when parents fight, or?
Yeah, it could be like parents fighting, or like say like there's a car accident and one of the parents died, and like the trauma behind that. Like.
Yep. Yeah, could be trauma. Very good. And another background knowledge that we should know is that children prefer to grow up in a stable environment. Let's say if they grow up in the same environment, same situation, they're more likely to have long-term friends, to have better social support. When they move around very often, it's harder, it takes more effort to make new friends and establish their networks. So when there's a divorce or any kind of changes in the family, people are more likely to move to a different place, right? So it might also affect the children. All right, very good. Any other idea or thoughts before we go to the next slide? Yeah.
I don't know if someone said this already, but did someone talk about like how in single parent households usually the parent has to work as well, and so it offers more time.
Yep. So it's also linked to the financial reasons. The adults, they tend to work more often, and the children are more likely to be neglected. Yep, very good. All right. Okay, I think we're good. Okay, so stressors that faced by single-parent families include the effects of continuing conflict between the parents. It could be trauma, the visitation and custody problems. People fight for that, and it might influence the kids. Less opportunity for parents and children to spend time together. We talked about that. Effects of the breakup on children's school performance and peer relationships. So we know that their academic performance might be influenced by the situation, and it could be a stressor for both the parents and the kids. Disruptions of extended family relationships. Let's say you have a good relationship with your grandparents on your dad's side, and then now you're with your mom, and you're less likely to have opportunities to connect with your dad's side. So, all right. Problems caused by the parents dating and entering new relationships. It's kind of straightforward, right? I think you guys have seen that in a lot of like movies and just social media that they portrayed. Sometimes when the kids find out their parents are in a new relationship, they might not be satisfied, or it just takes more effort for them to get used to it. Okay. All right. So those could be some of the stresses that single-parent families are facing. So what can help with this kind of stressors? Oh, by the way, if you're interested in this information, I put the link in the notes section. It's from Americans Psychological Association website. So, all right. Any idea what could help in this kind of situation? Yeah.
Clear communication.
Communication.
Child.
So between parents and the child, right? Very good. Communication is very important. Very good. What else?
Trying to minimize conflict between the two parents.
Try to minimize conflicts. If you can't, maybe not do it in front of the children, right? Maybe you have a better space or more poker space to solve your conflicts. Yeah, pretty good. Pretty good. Okay, I'm gonna read this and then we're gonna continue. So Gary says, strong friendships in school and extracurriculars. Very good, very good. You guys pretty much covered what I'm gonna say. So, good communications. This is essential, super important in any kinds of relationship. Communications helps. Oh, sometimes you might think, oh, communications take so much effort and time sometimes when you get into conflicts and you don't like that feelings getting confronted, or you don't like to explain to your kids. You might feel sad or something, but it's better to do it than let it sit and then the kids might explode at the end. Okay. Social support, friends, other family members, religious group, those can help. And go to psychologists, go to counselors. They can help the family. There are family therapists, family counseling, or couple counseling. They really help. And also it provides you a relatively safe environment to solve the problems. Right. Okay, are we good with this? Before we go to chapter 8, any questions? All right, so chapter 8, it's about helping and altruism. Pro-social behavior, those are any actions that helps another person. It can be self-focused or it can be other-focused. For self-focused pro-social behavior is when the goal is to benefit oneself, regardless of the consequences. Because sometimes when you do something for yourself, but it might also benefit other people. Can you think of any example? Maybe the boss is trying to make money and then it benefits their employees because everyone makes money. So, yeah. Any other example when you are self-focused, but you also benefit other people?
I don't know how well this one fits it, but when someone makes a study guide for themselves to do well on the test,
yeah,
then it's like on a Google Doc and everyone gets the information.
Yeah, and then yeah, that's more self-focused because they're making it for themselves at first, and then they kind of distribute it to everyone. Yeah. Other focus, this is just like when you try to benefit other people, regardless of the consequences. Sometimes you try to help other people, but you might end up benefit yourself, or you might end up not helping the other people, but it's the goal. Okay, so altruism is the desire to help another person, even if it involves a cost. So this is always other focused. Any questions on social behavior and altruism? We good? Okay. So, why do people help others? Any idea? Why would you help other people? Think of past experience or situations that you're helping people, and why did you do it? Yeah.
It feels good to help someone else, and going off in the past, I know I like it when others help me, so I try to help other people.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it makes you feel good, right? Yeah, it makes us feel good to help others. Any other reasons? It doesn't have to be yourself.
I think because I care about someone.
Yeah, you care about someone. Probably you're emphasizing with the person on the situation. Yeah. Yeah.
You also don't see anyone else helping the person, you'll go to help that person sometimes.
Why? If you don't help them?
Because you've been in that situation where no
Oh,
one
okay.
helped them.
Yeah.
So you can empathize with them.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Go ahead.
I was gonna say, I think some less virtuous reasons we help people are because of the social like cues, I guess, the social kind of rules we follow, but like if like it's just a moral something most cultures view as morally good to help others and be selfless.
So the moral foundation
of
people, yeah.
So it's like if we were, I think like guilt drives sometimes.
Yeah, guilt, yeah, or you might feel shamed. Yeah. So I think evolutionarily speaking, it's because we have a better chance of survival, so it helps. So perhaps we have a system built in to make us feel good to increase the chances of our survival. Yes, I agree. So if we look at evolutionary perspective, people are more likely to survive if they help other people, even though in the short run, it might be costly for yourself, but in the long run, the group might thrive. Very good, very good. Okay, so social rewards sometimes help. We help others because it might bring us positive things. It can be praise, rewards, honors, gratitude, and we know that in most society, people who help others, they have high status. They're respected more, right? It can be personal distress. We help others because it gets rid of our negative feelings, like what you said is upset, shame, and guilt. When you don't help someone, you might have that feelings. Right? And it can be empathetic concerns. Is when you want to help because you empathize with the person. And you want to help not because it looks good or you feel better about yourself. It's just more about empathy. Okay. All right. So now we have some time. I'm going to let you guys think about this question. Does true altruism exist?
Oh, I don't think so.
You don't think so? Alright. Want to provide your arguments or your thoughts?
Yeah, so we're saying true altruism is basically helping someone solely for them.
Yeah.
Right, that's like the
Yeah.
not a guilt or shame because you want to. I think I did in high school. I took a philosophy class in which we basically had to do projects and stuff. And me and my friend talked about, is there such a thing as a selfless motive? And is there such a thing as a truly selfless action?
Yeah.
And I think there's something as like I think true altruism exists in that you can do something in which there's literally no benefit to what's unnecessary. But I don't think there's necessarily such a thing as a truly selfless motive. Basically what I'm saying is like, I think no matter what, there's some drive in ourselves that's pointed to us. So like if you help someone, you might want to help them because it brings you joy. And that's a good thing.
Yeah.
But at the same time, you're getting joy out of it. Like that could be something that's driving you. So that's why I don't necessarily think. I think that I'm not like trying to be cynical, but I also think that for sure.
Yeah, again, there's no true or wrong answers here. So yeah, you might think that people help others, even though sometimes they think they're being like truly altruistic, but they might feel good afterwards, right? Okay. I see your points. Any other counter arguments that you think true altruism actually exists?
Unless you're a perfect person, you're gonna have selfish motives, in my opinion.
Can you say that again? I'm sorry.
Unless you're like a perfect person, you're gonna have selfish motives, because I usually do. And like whether that's I know them or not, I might not even realize it.
Yeah. Okay. Unless you're perfect, there's no true altruism, right? Can you think? Yeah.
I think it does exist because sometimes you choose to help someone even if it's like hurts yourself.
Can you give us some examples?
Like, I don't know, the stress and like time that you have to put into it, emotional energy to like consistently help someone, like that can all like take a toll on you, but you do it because you want to help that person.
And you think the underlying reason is you just want to help. There's no other
like
reason.
That stuff doesn't necessarily make you feel good, like you're putting a lot into it and it wears on you, but you're still doing it to help that person.
Do you have any specific example, like when does
in
that?
a bad relationship kind of thing.
In a bad relationship. So you're trying to help your partner,
Yeah.
even though it takes a toll on you.
Like you're
But-
still getting social rewards of like
Yeah,
being there.
but could it be the reason that you want a good relationship? You want the relationship to work, and then your life will be better. Could it be that? I'm just thinking, trying to put myself into the situation. Yeah, and it could also be that you're just helping them. Would it be the same if they're not your partner, just a stranger? Has it happened
I think
before?
probably more true altruism there, because like you don't get anything back from them necessarily, but I think at that point I don't know how often that's gonna happen.
When you say you don't really get anything out of it,
Because like if you're consistently helping someone, then at that point they're not a stranger anymore and you do have a relationship with them.
yeah,
So like I don't think there's really a case where someone would stay a stranger but you're still around helping them. Or it would be true altruism with a stranger.
okay. So I'm gonna just try to provide counter arguments, just to make it more thoughtful or more, I don't know, interesting of a discussion. What about people who donate their organs to other people that they don't even know, and their relationship is not like stay connected because a lot of times it's confidential, and then they don't know the person, and it's long lasting because they use that organ for a long time,
Yeah.
right? You have something to say. I'm just trying to provide some thoughts. Yep.
Yeah, I was kind of thinking like about situations like that as well, I guess, and I think that like even if it's a stranger, I think that there are like that's where the social cues come in. And I think sometimes we help people because we love them and it feels good. Sometimes we help people. I think on the other hand, there are times when we put ourselves through stress and like time commitments, all these things to help someone else, and it has no benefit, no physical benefits to us. But at the same time, like there's something there that could be either a guilt, feeling like I'm supposed to do this, or I should be doing this for this person.
Like
So
through responsibility.
Yeah, like it's our responsibility. And then in that case, it's doing it to avoid feelings of guilt, or it's still, I feel like there's still something there for us that's to make us maybe not feel guilty or not feel, like maybe to avoid cognitive dissonance or something like that.
Like you're trying to obey the social norms. Like you're expected to help others.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I think, in my opinion, I think that it exists. It's hard to know what everyone thinks when they help other people, and sometimes maybe people, especially in philosophy, they argue whether intention is important or not, right? Whether you're helping because you want to help them or because you have some benefits and they think that's important. I think sometimes it's not as important as long as you're making other people better, or you're just making the society better. Intention might not be as essential. Sometimes I think of acts like sacrifice. I don't know, like when people sign this agreement at DMV, like when you get into an accident and if you die, you can donate your organs to other people. Sometimes people might not know that you have that. You did it, right? You're not gaining any social positive feedback. You're not getting any fame or, I don't know, honors for doing it because it's individual. You're doing it in private. Also, you're helping a person that you don't even know. I thought that you might make yourself feel better. For me, when I did it, in my opinion, it didn't make me feel better. I just think it's good to help. I just want to help. But maybe underlying, I might feel better about myself. I just don't notice it. It's also possible. So yeah, this is my opinion, and we are almost out of time. If you don't have any questions, we had a very good discussion today. So, good job. All right. Oh, chat. Sorry, you guys feel free to leave. I'll just read this. Francis said that I don't think it does, even if you don't realize it. There's inevitably a subconscious effort to help others, knowing that you will likely be benefit in return. Yeah, I agree. It could be programmed into our genes. I don't know. There's no right answers here, but good thoughts.